Good afternoon, everyone. This is Naishad Gadani coming to you from Melbourne. And today is 116th episode of Career Coach Live. We are going to answer your tough and tricky job search questions live on this platform. So if you want to be part of LinkedIn Live, I'm soon going to put a link onto the LinkedIn Live comments and you can be part of LinkedIn Live. You can come here and ask your questions as well. We also have received a resume from a listener and we will also be critiquing the resume live here as well. If you want us to critique your cover letter resume, please keep sending it to us. We'll be more than happy to do it on Fridays during our career coaches live session. So before we start to take this session forward, let's welcome Caroline Brown, the co-host.
Thanks, Nation. It's absolutely fabulous to be here on this beautiful and sunny day in Melbourne. So we've got 2 more weeks of lockdown, or hard lockdown, hopefully. Not hard lockdown. Well, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. The lockdown sent my brain into mush, basically. But looking forward to getting any of your questions. So, resumes, LinkedIn profiles, interviews, how to find a job faster. How to get a job with no experience, anything specific to your experience. Nash and I are happy to have a go at answering your questions. So, and I'm looking forward to See, I can't speak. I'm struggling. I'm looking forward to having a look at the resume that we've got to take a peek at. So, don't forget to follow the hashtag Career Care Package. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe, and you'll get notified of videos coming up. And we'd love to have you as part of our community because we do these events very frequently. We want to be immensely useful to people and answer questions that you have that are pressing during this time.
Absolutely. KB, I wanted to start. I've just noticed there is a report that came out from National Skills Commission of Australia, and they have just crunched some data and really put out what are 25 emerging occupations in Australia right now. I think it's a very important time for all of us to look at this because there are people who are right now considering career crossroads, not sure which direction do I want to go. So what I'll do is I'm going to share that screen so that everybody kind of understand, and I will also put that link on the in the comment section also a little bit later. But you can also go and Google that, and it's pretty available. So let me do that and bring that thing on while we are talking. So I'm going to go and find something very interesting. Good. I think everyone's been able to see that thing. Let me just make it a little bit more.
And we've got a question from Kapil. Hi, Kapil. Great to see you. We'll jump on yours very shortly after we've done this.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure. I can't make this bigger than this. Let me see if I can.
I can see. I can't.
Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it? Okay, let me do one thing. Let me stop sharing that. And how about if I read through that? That would be much easier. Okay, so what they've done is they've kind of put all these 25 occupations into 7 categories, 8 categories, and the first one says the digital deepening, in which they've got digital marketing, social media marketing, and user experience analyst as a growing field. Then we got data analytics, where we got data scientists, data engineers, data architects, pricing analysts, and then emerging business practices, in which they've got agile coaches, DevOps engineers, and logistics analysts. The fourth category is regulatory, in which there are 4 occupations: risk analyst, regulatory affairs analyst, energy auditors. And the fourth is compensation and benefit analyst. The fifth category is health, nurse liaisons, biostatistician. I've never heard of that, by the way. And respiratory therapist, which doesn't surprise me given the nature of the disease. The sixth category is sustainable engineering and trades, and the occupations are solar installers. Doesn't surprise me at all. Energy efficiency engineers, wind turbine technicians. Doesn't surprise here also. And the fourth is very interesting. It's called hazardous materials laborers, because I think what you'll also see is that a lot of building and construction which are old and which has got asbestos on it. So I think that would be the thing. And the last one is refreshing ANZAC code, so in which you'll need fundraisers, researchers, and research assistants. So these are the ones that is really profound. This is what it says right now on
So these are things that are emerging.
emerging.
Out of this period. They're not all skills in demand, but emerging. It's really interesting. There's a lot of data and then data analysis and marketing of data, and then assessing the risk associated with data that comes through there. But I wonder whether the hazardous material one is around more of things that have been constructed around this period as well. Seems like quite an interesting one there. So where can people find that report?
What I'll do is, if you go to, there's a website called nationalskillscommission.gov.au, and you'll find it up there. National Skills Commissions, just Google the name and you'll find it. And it's been released just in last 3 days. So it's quite fresh. And I think it's very, very important at this time also, as well. And sometimes because what they've said is that these are all data-driven statistics. Sorry, not data-driven thing. It's not it's not based on anything else. It's not based on any whims and fancies of what sounds great, but it's more to do with what the data says right now for last 6-12 months. So I think they've also outlined the methodology that by how they've done that. So it's very transparent as well. So so if you go to National Skills Commission website and click on the top 25 emerging occupations, you'll find them, and there are heaps of other informations.
Yeah, okay. So I've got a few questions. Manjunath has said, could you please share the link? So Nesh will definitely do that. So I've got a question from Kapil, which is really interesting. The biggest issue is that the resume does not get shortlisted, even though the job description and profile are a perfect match. How do we resolve this issue? It's an interesting thing with this, Kapil, because Nesh and I were just talking about this before we got on this program, and we're going to do a breakdown of somebody's resume. It really is, the job of your resume is to get you an interview for that job. But I'd also be really digging deep into what goes into a good resume, because quite often you can think that you've got a great resume and you don't know what's missing, out of it. And, it may not pass that quick test. It may not be really quick and easy for people to understand who you are and what you can bring to the table. So you might think that it is being shortlisted, like it is a great resume, but it actually could be missing the mark. And I know, Nesh and I produce these professionally, and we have a fee for service. But if you can't afford that, that is an investment, it's worthwhile doing. But if you can't afford that, I would put it in front of a few people that are in the same profession that you are, and say, if you took a quick glance at this, what would you hire me for? And that will give you an idea about if people can get a sense of you really, really quickly. So, it's worthwhile doing that sort of, in Australia we call it the pub test, basically. Does this resume really make sense for the type of jobs that I'm actually, or this particular job that I'm actually going for? But don't ask them to give you feedback about the fonts or the style, or whether they think that should go on a resume or not go on a resume. What's their first glance? And looking at your resume, what could they immediately hire you for will be a great, quick litmus test for you, basically. And again, go back to saying that if you apply for a job, you have less than 1% chance of being successful. You've got a greater chance of being referred into a job. So don't just rely on applying, throwing your resume at great jobs, thinking that you're doing stuff, when that method is actually one of the least effective to actually find a job. What are your thoughts, Nesh?
I agree with you. I think it's tough. I'll get probably give you an example, Kapil. And I was speaking to a recruiter yesterday, and she has been in recruitment game for over 10 years now. So she knows what she's talking about. And I simply asked a question, how many applications do you receive for a role now? And she said that she recently posted for a job and she ended up receiving around 350 applications.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you do? That is like literally, I said, if I were you, I would probably ask my son to pick up 3 numbers and say, yep, these are the 3 ones that I will probably call, for the interview. But it's tough, man, and that's why even though whatever that you try to do that, and the recruiter then told me that, she relies on, who is really doing good stuff on LinkedIn, and somebody who's interviewed, who she has interviewed before, and someone who's been approaching her really, professionally, not pushy and everything else. She promptly picks, reaches out to them rather than looking at 350 different, applications. It's practically impossible. And then obviously you have to rely solely on the ATS. And then even ATS, you don't know what the recruiter is going to put onto the keywords, right? You may decide, the recruiter will look at X, Y, and Z skills. And then recruiter said, no, I'm not looking at that because these are the client brief. This is what the client wanted. And I'm going to use this. So there are just so many, permutations and combinations available there that, Kapil, you can give it a shot. I'm not asking you to not send a great, application. But even a phone call following up with that, even professionally approaching somebody who is really, looking for that kind of a role, I think nobody would, nothing can beat that. And that reminds me, she's actually coming on next Wednesday we are going to put her on the hot seat of a recruiter, and we are going to, ask her all the questions that you have, not to a recruiter. And I recently listened a TEDx talk on your next job is one conversation away. And Dawn Graham, if you have not seen it, just go to YouTube and check that out. And she put some data, but she also gives a very simplistic way of how do you really get a job through conversations with people. And she's also coming to grace our show in 3 weeks time from US, where we'll be talking to her about her take on networking and trusted referrals. That's the word. That how can you get trusted referral from somebody who works inside? So, and secondly, if I can ask, Kapil and then KB, is around. There's a website called JobScan, and I think if you want to really find out whether how much percentages your resume stacks up to the jobs that's advertised, I think that's an easy way for you to figure out. It takes the job ad, it takes your resume, and then gives you a score of how does it track between what employers are looking for and what you have.
I just wanted to jump in and really quickly, because I know we've got a lot of other questions, but when recruiters go and look on LinkedIn or ask for somebody, what they're looking to do is short circuit that trust process and that thinking process. So it's like I've got all of these people that are pitching at me, but the person that comes to me and says you should interview this person, or the person that I've met before or refers somebody, it's just short circuiting all of that. And that's why people actually do it, and they're probably doing more of it in this particular time. So yeah, okay, so we've got a question from Shruti. I have a gap in employment and looking to get back to work. I've experience in banking and administration, and I'm keen into getting into a new admin role. Any courses that you can recommend? Any suggestions that you have? I think, I think people think that going back into an admin role after you've done something professionally and had a break is an easy route back in. to the workforce. We can't, I mean, Shruti, we don't know who you are and what your skill sets and what your experience level is. But I think that it's, if you do that, you are competing against hundreds of other people that go down that same path, and it's really competitive. So you've get people who are returning to work, get people who've been out of work for a long time and think that that's a relatively easy path. You've got all of the perhaps longer term unemployed who think that's a more basic job. The less the qualification, and assuming these jobs are in a reasonably attractive area, the more applications that people are going to get. So have a think about why admin appeals, and maybe have a think, if you do have that sort of space for reflection, about what it is that you've really enjoyed in the past. And if you want to take a change in direction, have a think about matching that up with some of the things that we've identified or are identified as, what's going to be of use in the future, and see if you can get on the front foot like that. There are, just in terms of admin courses, there's always, TAFE or online courses that you can actually do. But again, I would be looking at what a future-focused technology in that particular area, like that you could do, rather than just Excel, Word, because most people have those sorts of skills now. But I think just have a bit more of a reflection, because a lot of people go at admin thinking, well, I can do that, but you are competing in this huge pool of everybody thinking that they can do that as well.
Yeah, I agree. If I echo, KB's comments, couple of things if I can add for you, Shruti, and not knowing the full, background history of your work, I'm just going to, take a, sort of my view on this is that you have had some, kind of break, whether you arrived from overseas and you are, looking for your first break, and you had most of the experience overseas. I think it's an opportunity for you to reflect on, as KB mentioned. I don't think so that you could do any administration courses that you have not done back in your country. I would doubt that, and whether that courses will lead you anywhere, I sincerely doubt. If you go to a TAFE and study a Cert 3 in business, Cert 4 in administration, I think by within a week's time you'll probably feel bored about it, because there is nothing new that it will add. Does it result into a job? I sincerely doubt on that too. It's not a mandatory thing that you've got to have X qualification to work in an administration. It does not. You might have to, as KB mentioned, is that you might have to look at what in administration if there are future focused things, if there are changes happening in that particular sector. Like for example, you would now want admin person to know how to operate Zoom, set up Zooms, and set up a lot of online technologies. You would need that kind of skill. You would also need technologies to use a lot of online platforms such as Slack, for example, or such as Xero for accounting software, or MailChimp, for example. You need to know that knowing all those things will make you far more competitive and far more future focused, and the employer would be able to use that skills in range of things, rather than being just asking you to pick up a phone call and work in reception and kind of an area. So I think that's would be very important. And if I can end, Shruti, with that, I think give it a go with volunteering too, in that space, customer service administration, because it just not only builds your confidence, but also gives you the new skills that the employers are looking for. So hopefully it answers your questions, Shruti. If you got more questions, feel free to reach out to me or KB.
I think with that as well, like anybody can type up something, a communication, a letter, put things on a spreadsheet. But often within offices, people are quite change resistant. So, you know that there's Slack out there that's a great replacement for email. You know that you probably could better off, put your email addresses on a database like MailChimp. You know that you could, regularly publish on social media or whatever. all of those things take time for people to actually learn, and they're often, just a slight step ahead of where people might be within the office, but don't have the headspace to actually sit down and learn. So, if you're networking with people, a good question could be, what are those things that you think could really improve your efficiency in terms of systems or software or whatever? And, I want to skill myself up with those things. It'd be a great way to position yourself as well. So, yeah, okay. So Amit says hello, hello, hello. So I feel that we should say hello, hello, hello back. Hope you're doing well. Mandeep says, and something's covered up that comment, good morning from the UAE. So we should say good afternoon from Melbourne. And Kapil says, thanks, that's really helpful. That's great. That's fantastic. So shall we have a look at that CV? I'll get you to put it up.
So hopefully this is more visible now. Yeah. Yep. I think this is more.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. You start, KB.
I did have the benefit of having a look at this CV before Nesh actually put it up. And my first thing is, and this is why I was suggesting to do the pass it to somebody test, is I don't know where to look with this. So I feel like it's trying to be general, where I think the idea about a CV is to get you an interview. So you probably want to build it around a particular role. So senior project manager, certified agile leader, and experience in the end-to-end management of enterprise level projects. I reckon you could pull that out and make that really quite a big headline, so people can then get a sense of what this CV is about and read it in mind with that. Industries, clients and project types, I would actually be listing with maybe 2, maximum 3 lines, the projects there related to the type of job that you're going to go for. So if it is a job where you are in a consulting project management, you're working for a consultancy, and then maybe the range of projects that you've been involved in is important. But if it's just banking or telco, or automotive, then I would be really putting those projects on the front page in that section, and I'd just be calling it delivered, like a headline of key projects delivered on time, under budget, whatever, in that section, just so it really I get excited if that's the type of role I'm actually recruiting for. And then Nesh, I'll get you to scroll down a little bit if you can. The skills, the bits that I read are the project management, the stakeholder management and governance, so I would be taking out anything that's really a soft skill here. So strong communication skills, unless it's a communication management role, that's kind of a given. Presentation skills, again, if you're presenting business cases, like I'd be more specific about that. So the skills, I tend to make them, again, look at what the job's advertising and make it match up with that. And then, maybe have it in a little table there. I think you probably get away with the table and still be ATS friendly, because there is still too much information for me to gather at a quick glance. And then going further down the CV, so it's a bit hard for me to connect the achievements to the role. So I would be putting them under the role that you've been, that they're actually relevant to. And the certifications, I probably put up summarize those up the top. So PMP, Certified Agile Coach, some of those critical ones, I put them so people could see them next to your name or just under your name as well. And then just further down a little bit, Nish, if you could go. I just found this section I didn't quite know where to look. So I had to sort of peer in to see project you've got to work out which information you want people to see and is bold and highlighted. So I just didn't. It took me a while to resonate that it was Teradata Corporation that you worked for. So I think that the presentation's a bit too. It's too chunky. It's too hard to actually want to read that because my eye doesn't know which bit's the most important there. But I tend to start with the job, the purpose of the 2 lines about the organisation, the key purpose, and then the projects that you've been involved in, and then that helps people understand that in more detail. Read it in a systematic way, basically, in a logical way. So that would be my comments around the CV. What are your thoughts, Nish?
I think I agree with most of the things that KB you suggested, and I think that's what I think the layout itself is just too much for the eye to look at. I don't know where I'm looking at. I'm looking at shaded thing. I'm looking at the shaded and the bold thing. Then I'm looking at just the bold things. And secondly, I think putting in the industries, clients, and project types. If I'm looking at a banking, then I would just put that particular, emphasize on it. Writing down everything would not really be useful because, A is that, as Australian recruiters want to be more specialized work. They don't want you to look at, even though, as I always said, even though if you won a Nobel Peace Prize and if you're applying for an agile project manager role, they give 2 hoots about it, right? Because it's not at all related to that. So that's number one. And I think that's right. I think that the first thing is, if you send this resume to somebody, he or she should not have a question what kind of work you're looking at. If you send it to your friend and say, look, can you forward this resume to somebody, and say, yeah, I will. So you forward it to 5 people, and all the 5 people say, I don't know what Amit is looking. I just literally don't know. Well, then it will pose a problem. So I think there is no focus to the resume. There is no, the intent is fundamentally missing. Then I agree. I think not many people are fan of putting the essential skills or the soft skills as part of the resume, and not going, not telling people, like, obviously you would have presented as an agile coach, you would have presented. It's kind of considered as an assumed thing too. You need to have a stakeholder, skills to influence decisions. You need that. So I think that's, I would probably not put, if you want to put somebody, skills list which are highly technical, with the work that you are looking at. Then if I look at, certifications, and I think I'm pretty sure, Amit, that you can find logos of this company, certification, and stick it right there on the top of this. It's easier for people to know, you're a certified agile coach, you're, PMP or Kanban design thinking, whatever. And, having logos of the right on the top, that solves all the problem. You don't need to tell, you can avoid that. Secondly, as I said, in the achievement sections also, if I can, just add a couple of things. In the achievement section, you've said here, for example, received the Delivery Excellence Champion Award. And I said, yeah, but what did you do? Like, what was some of the quantifiable thing that gave you that champion award? There has to be something, right? It's not that you've been given that for no reason. What's the rationale behind it? And similarly on this one here too, I think, Amit, I'm pretty sure that you can find a way to simplify this. And I know it's very difficult, to do that. Rather than I can say you can simplify that, but I think this is possible for you to simplify so that people know the what we say. People know the structure. People know the logical sequence of how the resume is flowing as well. Like for example, here you said project type, and then there's project manager, scrum master, change. I'm literally not sure. What you are really trying to convey here. So it's quite. I think what you should give credit to, Amit, is you've got great content, by the way.
And
I don't, exactly. I think you've got content right, but remember, now you got to give it a shape. Also, you've got content, you got the, if you're a potter, if you're doing pottery, you've got the clay, right? You've got the amount of the water into the right. Now you have to give it a shape, and a shape that people want to buy, not the shape that you want to sell, right? And that's what I think that is required.
I think just like I guess when Nation and I look at these resumes, I feel like we go straight into this could be better, and this could be better, and this could be better, and this could be better. But we just really want to emphasize that you have absolutely fantastic experience with some really big clients, and so our comments are really around how to make it better. We don't say these things because we love to be critical. So so please take it as feedback to improve. And I know it takes a lot of courage to actually seek feedback publicly. I guess the thing about it is when you are reading something, you don't want to, we want to read things in a logical order. And I always go back to, one idea per section of the resume. So I think in your skill section, if you can just pop up a little bit, scroll up a bit, Nish, you have sort of mixed up a few of your achievements within the skill section. So, just look at that information critically and go, I'm just going to put my skills in this section and my hard skills in this section. And, in the project section, I'm just going to put relevant projects in that project section. So try and be a bit ruthless around, what sits where in the resume made. It just make it, because people, their eyes are drawn to a headline and they're going, that's the information I want to see in that section. So, but hopefully that's been helpful. We do have some examples. I'm not sure if we shared them last time, of good standard templates for CVs. And again, with this, we don't know what's missing on your resume. So, because we haven't had our normal consultation process with people, which is like put it all out on the table and get your stories out as well. So, Amit says, great analogy of the potter. Nish is great at analogies. So I saw a comment from Michelle. Let me just find that, which I was wanting to clarify. She says, I always try and find questions that influence the answer. For example, we used to ask, how are you flexible? Because are you flexible is next to useless. Anybody's going to say yes, but how questions form a deeper consideration. I think they're great questions to actually, when you're putting things on your CV, I think Michelle, please correct me if I'm wrong, that might be what you're referring to, is then, that teases out the right information to actually put on your CV. So, how you're flexible, but actually in what context, why is that flexibility going to be important to the, how does that demonstrate a level of value, or is that flexibility part of a project that you've undertaken? So yeah, great question. Mandeep says, I'd like to ask what changes I need to make in my LinkedIn profile to appear in recruiters or employers' searches. LinkedIn has this great feature when you're filling out your profile. It's just, it takes you through the stages of what needs to go on your profile, and it goes from basic through to all-star. So just as a general hygiene rule, making sure that you're an all-star with the information that you put on your CV is a great great place to start. You used to be able to put keywords in your profile. It used to be keyword stuffing, which meant that you could get to the top of rankings within your network by keywords, in your headline and in your experience section and your top job titles and in your skills section and things like that. But then you used to find that I used to have when I was training on LinkedIn, a little laugh at profiles that I pull up because somebody had been a CEO for 52 weeks, one week every week of the year, like with jobs listed out with on their profiles. So it made people's practices on LinkedIn meant that LinkedIn sort of made it difficult to actually optimize your profile that way. But recruiters generally have access to the license on LinkedIn, which means that they can go searching on all aspects of your profile. I would make sure that you look at the types of jobs that you're going for, and look at the keywords that are typically being asked, like it might be agile methodology or, for a project manager, or it might be waterfall, or it might be stakeholder engagement. Look at those things and make sure that they are listed in, the experience where it's relevant, and make sure that they are in your skills and endorsement, and make sure you've got some critical ones that are you in your headline as well. But I don't have any secret sauce for optimizing profiles with keywords and secret ways to do it anymore, because I think LinkedIn got rid of that practice quite a long time ago.
And I think we can run a session on that to LinkedIn. LinkedIn doesn't like talking about LinkedIn on LinkedIn, but I think we will get away with it. We can, if you want us to do a session on LinkedIn review, please send us your LinkedIn profile and a PDF document rather than doing it live, because it's just too difficult for us to keep switching the windows. So yeah, happy to do that. If we get 2 or 3 people interested into that, reach out to us, and we might run a session, just talk about it, because that's still a very interesting topic to talk about. We can't go into the details of your photos and the background image and everything. I think there is enough literature out there, that we can, you guys can go over that. I don't think so that's important as much. The most important thing is the content of the profile. So happy to do that. Absolutely. We'll just take it as an if there's an interest, we will run that. And so Kapil is saying, how can we get? Absolutely. So if you want your CV to be reviewed by us, please send it to us, and that's what we dedicate these Fridays to, is to answering your questions. And we will, if you want to send it to us in this next week, we might take that up next week, as well, Kapil. So feel free to do that.
I've got a question that we missed from Imtiaz. Hi, Imtiaz. Good to see you here. What's the best way to show our skills that show competency on a CV? For example, leadership, management, conflict resolution, communication skills, and that kind of thing. I guess it's contextual too to what type of job that you're actually going for. So if you're going for a team leader or supervisor role, think about how is success measured in those sorts of roles. If you're a leader, quite often, say for a leadership role, it might be employee engagement. So, how could you show your leadership in terms of improved employee engagement type scores? And management might be, again, if you're going for a manager type role, what are the key things that you're required to demonstrate as a manager? It might be, breaking that down a bit further. It might be improving systems and processes. It might be successfully managing recruitment. It might be managing people issues. It might be, managing projects. So you want to kind of look to see what they're actually asking when they ask you those sorts of, to demonstrate those sorts of concepts, because they'll be much more refined than a broader sort of summing up in the word management. Conflict resolution and communication, again, that would probably be contextual to one of your achievements, for example. So it might be, well, if we go back, that might be a leadership example. So, if you're going for a leader role and one of your roles is to improve productivity, it might be increase productivity by X percent through, instituting regular communication meetings, showing employees that they're valued. That's, I'm not explaining it very articulately, but you can kind of guess what I mean. So, what aspects of communication helped you improve, those engagement scores or improve that productivity. So, that's the way I would showcase those particular competencies. You could also do that in the cover letter. So if they're saying we need you to demonstrate leadership/management, have that headline in a cover letter and give a little example of how you demonstrated that underneath that as well. So that's just a few ideas on how I would tackle it.
Yeah, I think agree. It's like if you say that you're a competent driver, what's the whether you have any accidents, then you got to say that you get 0 accidents, you've been not pulled by a cop, you've not had a traffic ticket. Those are the results, right? That shows that you're a competent driver. Otherwise, how can I measure a competency without any results attached to that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what you got to look at. And it's all context. It's all in the context of the situation. Communication, it would be very difficult to articulate, but it could say, chairing meetings or calling meetings or, delivering presentations, to customers. Those are the ways that you can say you deliver, every fortnight one presentation to 50 people. Right now, that shows that now you've got, you not only are saying, but you're also giving an evidence that you have that competency, with you. So I think that's what you got to think about.
I think with that question in TS, it sounds like it's a government type application where, you're required to put a CV in to demonstrate those things, because generally I want a CV, if I'm an employer, I want a CV to show how that person solved the problem, and those problems are measured in, things that I need to deliver as outcomes. So I'm interested in the fact that you've got good leadership skills and conflict resolution, but I'm not going to, that's not the thing that I'm going to be seeking through the CV. Having said that, government do ask you address competency type things often. So you could even put, those little headlines on the front page of your CV, and again, those examples, those achievement examples that demonstrate your skills against those competencies, and that's one way that you could actually do that. So, that's the way that I would look at it.
Excellent. So, don't have any more questions as such. I didn't find any, questions. But yes, so feel free to send your CVs or your LinkedIn profile, depending upon the interest. We will. We will create a section. We'll create a session for that. Now, before we wrap up, I had an interesting look at a recent article on Seek, which talks about the 20 most needed roles in Australia right now. Okay, these are all latest ones. I think I've been just coming up with some good articles today. So first rank.
Just jumping on something there, Naish, because I really need to say it. Is it hairdressers online? I was just thinking of everyone in the lockdown in Melbourne. It's like all the things that we miss because we can't go out. One of them would be,
DIY, hairdressing, do it yourself. So the first one doesn't surprise me. Nursing, all the roles. Second is warehousing. Third is aged care. There's a ninth role, which is still, chefs and cooks. Now, these are all Australian data. Okay, this is not Victoria. I think probably these are wrong in Victoria, but for example, road transport, psych, and counselling work is 15th one. It has jumped 9 places since the last time they took this. And child welfare is 17, and the last one, 20th or 19th, is still business and system analyst. And also 20th is mining and operations. So these are some of the kind of data coming out for from SEEK. So hopefully that gives some kind of solace to people.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by the mental health one, because they're saying that calls to Lifeline and those services have been up quite dramatically. So particularly people in Melbourne. But people are identifying that they've got some challenges, which is a really positive thing. So Poonam says, I'm preparing a job application for a government job on how to write a selection criteria. Any tips? Poonam, I think we're going to have a session on this, but we're also going to call in. I'm going to go dig for a particular expert. I used to do a lot of selection criteria for government jobs, but they take a long time. And so if we're struggling, and Naisha's worked on these as well, people do struggle in general. And I know that the government's tried in a lot of cases to simplify the process, down to a couple of key questions or to a 2-page response as well. So I think if we can find one of those rare and unique and in-demand individuals that love writing selection criteria, we should do a session on it to help you guys out. So because they're not easy, and I think the government actually scares a lot of people off because their application processes are still pretty unwieldy. Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean.
I agree. It's a difficult one. I have actually, written some for me and some for my wife, and we both have been, successful partially to land interviews. Yes, partially. But I think I have followed a book, and I think that resume writer, is no longer working as a resume writer, so I can't even ask you to go and talk to her. But yes, I have actually, created a session. I can't tell you, Poonam, when it is, but it's not next week for sure. I'm pretty sure it's not next week. I think it might be the week after that, because as you can see, we also are, will take some time to even prepare for that session. That's not it. There's a lot of trauma associated with it, so we will have to do that as well. I can tell you tentatively when it is booked. Don't hold me on that, which is booked on 15th of September, which is a Tuesday. It's a long way away. If you can hold on to that until that time, that's great. Otherwise, do some Googling to find out what's the best way to write that.
Except if you come across a blog post of mine, I wrote it 10 years ago, okay? So I have this blog post that is about selection criteria that sits at the top of, used to sit at the top of Google. So I used to get a lot of inquiries, but that's a little bit out of date. So just need to say that. And Intia says, I don't know why selection criteria still exists. And yes, when I'm Prime Minister, it's going to be my number one. It's like, I'm going to ban it. And it's funny with government because, they assume, like, okay, I'm going to have a go now. They assume that, they get you to go through hoops to apply for these jobs, and it takes them weeks to get back to you, and they assume that you're just waiting for them to call. So
the longest selection criteria that I wrote was 17 pages for myself. Sorry, not 7. Sorry. I should repeat. It was around 10 to 12 pages for 17 criteria. 17 criteria.
What was it?
For a university. I still didn't get that.
Universities and local government, they have the longest criteria. For a lot of the Queensland state governments, one of the better better organised government departments. They seem to be a lot friendlier. So let's use, MTS, vote for me, that's good. You heard it here. So
at least you got one vote. Let's see that. Okay, excellent. All right. So anything else, KB, before we wrap this up today's session?
No. If you're watching this on YouTube and you like what you see, subscribe and you'll get notified of all of the sessions that we've got coming up. Please follow the hashtag Career Care Package. Please give us a like if you like this on YouTube, and even, I know, get lots of love and affection on LinkedIn. And really looking forward to next week. So it should be a cracker.
Excellent. Yes, that's right. Everything that KB said. And on the top of that, I'll just give you a trailer of what to expect next week. So we are speaking to Natalia Walker. She was on our session probably in the very initial days. And we are going to talk about, we might play a game because that's what we did in the first time. And we are talking about well-being bingo. So,
jump to the next one there. If you want to come along to that, bring a pen and paper. Mystery pen and paper. Monday, that's right. Monday, bring pen, pen and paper, ready, because you'll be doing a lot of exercises the way we did last time. Then on Tuesday, we are speaking to Gurnam Singh. He is an absolutely sensational professional. If you've not follow him. He's a TEDx speaker. He lives in Sydney, and he's going to come and talk about the power of embracing fear. And his TEDx talk is nothing but inspirational. Then on Wednesday, we are speaking to Gauri, and she's a recruiter with more than 8-10 years of experience in Australia. So she would answer your questions around recruitment and what she's looking in 360 applications that she receives. And on Thursday, we are going to speak to Claire Sieber, and her story is pretty powerful too. She got stranded in Caribbean during the COVID crisis, and she and her family had to leave off a boat for a few days, around 45 days. And it took 5 days for her to reach from Caribbean to Melbourne, and then spend 2 weeks. It's an incredible story, but there's a lot of learnings that she has taken from it about careers and life. We're going to unpack that, on Thursday, Claire Sieber. And then on Friday, we'll be back doing the same thing again, where we'll be answering your questions. If you want us to review your resume, feel free to send it to us, and then we will review it for you as well. But until we meet next time on Monday, please stay safe. Please look after yourself and your loved ones. Sorry? Wear a mask.
That's right.
As a health message, I just sort of slip it in to the sign off. So, we'll see you all. Start again, KB. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.